finding purpose and meaning. And just to let everyone know, we are recording this. So just be mindful of that. So, finding purpose and meaning. This is our last session of NorthPoint Thrives. Um, and so I'll just move forward. I will state.
We're not seeing your screen.
Is okay. Do you see it now?
Yeah, we do now.
Um, just to remind you that we, or I, you will not know from this presentation necessarily your purpose or meaning. This is a guide to kind of help you to get closer to it if that's something that you're interested in doing. So I won't tell you what your purpose in life is or the meaning of life. Still trying to figure that out. So, so where did all this discussion or thinking start? It's interesting that the kind of modern research on human purpose and meaning started or was born out of the Holocaust with Viktor Frankl, who was a survivor of the Holocaust and a psychologist, because he observed that while imprisoned and being tortured, that those who had a sense of purpose showed the greatest resilience to that torture, slave labor, and the starvation rations that they underwent. Um, and he quoted Nietzsche to kind of crystallize that point, where he says, those who have a why to live can bear almost any how. Um, so having a purpose, having a sense of hope, having a sense of meaning, um, allow people to bear even the worst of circumstances. In his particular conception of purpose, he put to words in his book in 59, which still is quite resonant now. Being human always points and is directed to something or someone other than oneself, be it a meaning to fulfill or another human being to encounter. The more one forgets himself by giving himself to a cause to serve or another person to love, the more human he is and the more he actualizes himself. Obviously, I'm quoting him, um, but we would put that language into non-gender conforming language. Um, and but the terms, essentially, the terms purpose in life and meaning in life were once used interchangeably. And oftentimes we do the same, but they are distinct things. Meaning is often thought to be broader and more inclusive and is a construct that includes purpose. Um, and many researchers argue that purpose in life refers only to those sources of meaning that are both goal oriented and motivated by a desire to make a difference in the world beyond the self. Um, so you might find meaning, like I often remember as a child, I would visit my grandparents in South Georgia and look and see the Big Dipper kind of in the open sky in the country. And then seeing that same constellation in other places in the world, seeing that, and then also kind of finding meaning in it, the beauty of the universe, then connecting that to a purpose, to live better, to live cleaner in terms of the ecological world. So, what is purpose? So, it's stable and generalized intention to accomplish something that is at once personally meaningful and at the same time leads to productive engagement with some aspect of the world beyond the self. Um, so it's an intention and something that is beyond you. A purpose in life is a goal. It's a long term goal generally with an ultimate aim that directs more proximate behaviors. So if I have a long term goal, the behaviors that I perform now point me towards that goal. But not all goals or meaningful experiences are purposes. I may have a goal to make sure I get out on time today, and that may or may not contribute to my overall purpose in life, or what I find to be my meaning in life. But it's in the intersection of the orientation of those goals, our sense of personal meaningfulness, and the focus beyond ourselves, that we get a distinct conception of our purpose, and that's when it begins to emerge. Um, Goals or purpose is personally meaningful. So even though external forces may nurture the growth of purpose, so your parents, your friends, society, and culture may nurture kind of what you may sense your purpose to be. The ultimate motivation for pursuing that purpose ultimately comes from within. So, and it's also inspired. Um, and so it may be um, focused on your nuclear family, local community, or the world at large. So it does not have to be some grand purpose. Your purpose in life may be, you may find it to be to ensure the advancement of your nuclear family. Why is this important? Because people who have a sense of purpose, um, their general health and well-being tend to be better, and it's also been shown they tend to live longer. Um, and that's beyond the obvious benefits. So some sources of purpose that we might find. So our personal experiences, a caring teacher, often traumatic experiences. We might make it through those experiences and then see that there's a purpose we can find out of that. Concerns about affairs removed from our current circumstance, so social injustices that we may not experience or we may experience that drive us, our purpose. Most religious and some secular systems of thought offer their adherents well-developed guidelines for developing purpose. So if you are a religious person or not, there are constructs that guide people towards finding a purpose. Love of friends and family are common sources of purpose, and desire just for meaningful work can also be a source of purpose. Meaning, what is it? So meaningfulness tends to be broken out into three kind of constructs. So coherence, so essentially how we understand our life. Um, Whereas purpose relates to goals, this is kind of our understanding of what our life is. Purpose is inside of meaning, so goals that we have for our life, and then significance, our sense that our life is worth living and that life has inherent value. And it's together that these constructs contribute to our sense of meaningfulness. Um, and so why meaning is important, they've done studies, and this one in particular was just from a few years ago, in that it showed that those who felt life was worthwhile or had meaning, their well-being and they just flourished more at older ages and also over time. Because our goal is to typically to live a long life. And people with higher ratings on the worthwhile measurement scales tended to have strong personal relationships, broad social engagement. Um, they also had better mental and physical health, fewer depressive symptoms, less chronic disease, less chronic pain, less disability. They tended to be more physically active, and they tended to sleep a little better. Um, and so it brings some import to the strength and the necessity of social connections, which is interesting in this time of COVID, where we are physically distant from one another, but we still can and should maintain our social connections, because fracturing that uh, puts makes it more difficult to maintain those connections, thereby um, putting some doubt potentially in people's minds around the purpose and the meaning that they may find in life. Um, so, with those things, so how you say, well, it sounds like a good idea to kind of figure out what my meaning and purpose are. Um, and so, how would you go about doing that? Um, so, donating your time, money, or your talent. If there's just one habit you can create to help you find your purpose, it will be helping others. Um, and those others may live in your house, they may live in your neighborhood, they may live somewhere in your community, they may live somewhere else in the world. And there also may not be a person. It may be, animal rights or, all kinds of things. Listen to feedback. It can sometimes be hard to recognize the things that you feel passionate about sometimes, um, but other people may see it in you. So ask your mom, your dad, your best friend, a good friend, someone who knows you. There's a good chance that you may be actually living out your purpose and not realize it. Um, and other people see it in you, but you just don't realize and see it in yourself. Um, but be careful of who you ask, um, as not to kind of sabotage your journey. Surround yourself with positive people. This kind of feeds into that last statement. As they say, you're the company you keep. So try to keep people around you who are, you know, like-minded or thinking in the same way that you are. A young poet artist who goes by the name of Young Thug, he recently quipped, and I'll paraphrase him, that simply because we are not friends any longer does not mean I am your enemy. I would still like to see you succeed in your endeavor. So if you do need to remove people from your life, it does not mean you need to make them your enemy. It's just that they're not, uh, you don't see them as helpful as you might want them to be. Starting conversations with new people, realizing that the people that we know, and we don't know everything. And so just starting random conversations with people with your mask on, just to see, kind of get different perspectives and to see what other people are doing with their lives. So if you're out in the community engaging in an activity, explore your interests. So the things you like to talk about, the things you enjoy sharing on social media, you might find that there may be some purpose in there. Um, Consider the injustices that bother you, and then also discover kind of what you love to do. Like if you find yourself always kind of aching to do a thing, um, that may be it. Um, and then, this picture I thought was a good um, depiction, because this gentleman is therefore this is the same guy, but I couldn't make one person do it. There are all kinds of ways you can go, and there's no one right way. And each way has different paths and break off points and places you can end up. So finding your meaning and purpose is a lifelong journey, and you may have multiple meanings and or purposes. Um, and it often becomes clear as you are on that journey that maybe I need to turn around and go back that other path. Um, but I think the key with it is granting yourself enough space and time to do the work. The there's some privilege in being able and having the time to do such a thing. So actually, as I can't remember, blank on her name, she's a senator, reclaiming your time. So taking your time and considering meaning and purpose. And by doing that, those things tend to become clearer for you. And if not clear, you just get a better sense of kind of where you might want to go. Um, and and I thought this poem was a good one, so I'll close with this. Um, it's by Robert Frost, "The Road Not Taken." Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both and be one traveler. Long I stood and looked down one as far as I could to where it bent in the undergrowth. Then took the other as just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear. Though as for that passing there, had worn them really about the same. And both that morning equally lay, in leaves no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day, yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages hence. Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. Sometimes we have to chart a different path than what other people are doing to find and see where our purpose and meaning may lie. And knowing that it has no age limit. Um, you know, as we age, it crystallizes. Some of us, you know, you figure these things out as you age. And you don't have to know it. That is your right. You don't have to know what your purpose and meaning are, and you can have more than one. So the goal of all this programming that we've done over these last, it's really been about 14 or 15 weeks, was to just give some useful information and strategies to promote resilience for staff during the pandemic. And as Dr. Erickson mentioned, there were several people who participated in this from week one through this is the 12th week of this particular programming. And I guess 13th week is, and a lot has happened in those weeks. So just another thank you to all those people. Thank you for your time and intention in this. And that is all.